Welcome to the first episode of the Longevity Lounge by Saya, where we aim to discuss health and wellness topics to give actionable advice to our viewers to help extend their health span. Because our aim is not just to help people extend their lifespan, which is how long they live, but also their health span, which is how healthy they live. So, our very first guest is Azhar Ali Sayed, who's an Amazon best-selling author, a renowned nutritionist, and also the founder and CEO of Pango, that is doing some incredible work in the health space. He's also a fitness enthusiast and expert. Over to you, sir. How are you doing today? Thank you for joining us.
I'm very good, Karan. And firstly, thanks for the kind introduction and kind words. And congratulations on this initiative. I think this was something which was really needed. And looking forward to this conversation. And once again, congratulations on this entire podcast that you've initiated and this whole work that you are doing with Sai.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. So I think, just to begin, I think just wanted to know your journey, your family background, where you were born and brought up, and what led you to pursue nutrition as a further discipline.
This question alone can go like for an hour, okay? But I'll try and see how crisp and short we keep. There's one thing which I'm sure that before I come to my family background, just to add, how did I ended up into this? One thing in India, or across the globe, people, most of y'all would be able to relate with, whether you're underweight or overweight. Body shaming is something which is so common, correct? And mota hai, bhaisa hai, correct? Patla, lukha, all these words, when somebody is overweight or underweight, people don't really blink an eye before, just body shaming. So my childhood was like that, okay? I was like a very, whoever would look at me now or then, okay, or who knows me, I was like, I used to lie to people that I was 50 kgs. I was not even 50 kgs. Okay, and I used to go to buy clothes, and the guy used to the shopkeeper, the sales guy used to say, "Okay, sir, at least आप 28 की तो वेस्ट कर लो ताकि मैं आपको कुछ दिखाऊं." Correct. So if I were to just share my backstory, that's how thin I was. Okay, and when I first started to hit the gym, all that, I was again yet another N2 cutlet. That's how everyone does a body banana, and I just hit the gym. I started to go to the gym, and within a week, 10 days, I felt so ill. एकदम से सब शुरू कर दिया. I was diagnosed with typhoid and jaundice both together. And literally, it's then when I realized that, so when you're down with jaundice, you are supposed to be in a very restrictive diet. And at that time, all entire family of ours, we got together. We were supposed to go out and dine together. And that was the first time wherein I remember so sharply that everyone is enjoying the meals and I was just having a clear soup. That's the first time when I saw that I was so aware and conscious about what I'm not supposed to do and what I'm supposed to have. And it all started from there. I was like, okay, fine, let me start changing myself. And that's where my whole personal transformation and my so much interest and keenness in this field started. That's about how I got into this, and then I just never stopped. This was like back 19 years ago.
Wow.
And if you ask me about my family background, got my parents, wife, 2 kids,
Nice.
8 years and 4 years respectively. Yeah.
Nice. That's very interesting. And I think it's good that you brought this up because most people, I think, just how you said your episode of jaundice and typhoid, and then you realized that the clear soup you were having made you feel like you realized what you shouldn't have. Many people learn proactive health lessons from a reactive measure. When they fall ill, when they see a family member going through a health challenge that could be passed down to them genetically. I think fear is a big motivator to make people healthy, and that's not a bad motivator. What was your journey like? Did you pursue any kind of qualification? When did you start practicing? How has that journey been up to the point of founding Pango, where now you help hundreds and thousands of people on their health journey, be it weight loss, be it muscle gain, But I think from the interactions that we've had, your general principles are that A, understand your own body.
Yeah.
B, understand that the intent is not the number on the scale as much as it is to just get healthy.
Correct.
So what has been that journey? What led you to pursue it even deeper? And what was the turning point when you decided that from an independent practice, I should now formalize this into a company?
That itself has been quite a journey. Okay. And right, any business, especially when it comes to service related work. Okay. I had a very, very low start. Like, I literally started from meeting people and consulting people from coffee shops. Right. That's where literally I started from. And then from there I graduated, where a friend of mine gave a cabin in his office. Okay. From there I moved to another location where another friend of mine. So in my entire journey, be it my personal transformation, or be it my transformation, or the way that I've grown from a sole practice to a company, there have been a lot of people. I would like to take this opportunity again to be grateful to a lot of people who have literally supported me in a lot of ways, right? So from there, another friend that I mentioned gave me a space in his office, said that, start from there. There itself, again, I was a sole practitioner. From there, as we started to get more and more clients, okay, again, when it comes to consulting, when it comes to service, a one-on-one, I would always have a certain limit, right? Correct. And that's when I realized, so the only way if I have to grow my business is to only then keep charging more, right? I cannot keep increasing my number of clients, because as a single person I would reach
Be
a
capped.
peak. I would be capped with respect to the number of people I can cater to, right? And that led to only me increasing the price that I would charge. Correct. So that's the only way that I grow my revenues, right? And so I remember that, so one thing, that in order to handle that, I thought, okay, fine, if that is the thing, the first thing I did was to, then everyone who is going to do that is to hire. I hired. But again, the hiring cannot just be non-stop, right? That's when, even before COVID, I realized that not everyone wants to come and meet you in person. I realized that if you really want to change people's life, if they want to follow a regime, dietary and exercise and other lifestyle regime, it can be very easily communicated and consulted
Online.
online, right? So way before COVID, I saw this and I already was practicing that. And the first thing which I did was to really start investing in technology. So back then we made sure that everything is technologically oriented for two reasons. One, that when it comes to planning a dietary regime, there are so many food groups, so many nutrients, so many numbers. For a human, it is really impossible or very difficult, or so to say very time consuming, to really make sure that when you're planning a diet, you know the numbers, that the right amount of macros, the right amount of protein, the right amount of dietary fiber is given, planned in a diet, right? And when I used to consult people, I was very particular that I will not be doing a cookie clutter thing, that ek ka diet sabko de do. This was something which I was very particular about, right? That's where I thought that let me take advantage of technology, because when I hire, I know that I am doing this. Will my team also do that? I wasn't sure, right? Because I know that how taxing it is. Like, there was time where even I used to be out with my family, my wife and my kids, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the night. We are having dinner in a restaurant. I used to still sit on my laptop and keep making diets. I know how time consuming it was, right? But I used to enjoy. But then I know that I will get fatigued doing that. So that's when I invested in technology, so that now when we make the diet plans, even when my team makes a diet plan, the numbers are very meticulously calculated. So we know that we are not just bluffing. We know that we're not just randomly giving any diet with any random calculations.
Fair enough. That is, I think so. It's very clear that you automated your own process, made your own life easier,
Yeah.
and realized that the power of technology allowed you to reach out to a much wider audience
Yeah.
and serve a larger group of people. And I think
And also, you mentioned that how did this shift happen to from a solo practice to forming a company and to make an I missed to answer that, is that as I kept increasing the price, okay, I had a business coach back then. So I've had multiple business coaches, okay. Uh, so I asked him, and a lot of people used to message me on Instagram that, we are saving money so that, we can take plans from you. Like, they were very clear that we want to take plans from you, okay. There were people, who wanted to take plans from me, and I realized that, money is the factor which is not letting them, take plans from me. At the same time, I have my challenges, because I know that I can only cater to a few select number of people. That's when my coach said, like, okay, fine, and I used to feel that guilt that, this is not right, because I know that how when your life changes, when your health changes, how your complete life changes, right? When I transform myself, I know how just by transforming myself, everything around me change. Even the way people perceive you and treat you changes. Correct? That's the harsh reality. Correct? And my business coach then told me that, okay, fine. If that is the case, then try and see if you can author a book. Okay, give out the entire blueprint so that people can follow by themselves. Now
Wow.
people don't want that as well, but that's what led me to author my book, so that if there is anybody who cannot afford, okay, who finds the pricing are high, they have this blueprint, read it, do it by yourself, and it's done. But people don't want that as well, so I was like, okay, fine, let me find a midway. That's where we introduced Pango, where the whole idea is that, now there should be affordable programs for a larger audience, because now we are the diabetic capital of the world, right? We are ranking third highest in obesity, right? People barely have any, 90% of our population don't even know what their daily protein requirement is. 60 to 70% of our population don't end up meeting the daily protein. So I was very clear that if we really want to make an impact, okay, at such a wider population level, it has to be pocket friendly. That's where the whole idea of Pango and a more organized approach came into picture.
Wow. That's very unique. And I think you're one of the first people to start investing in that. Now a lot of people are catching on to it, but I think nutritionists and dietitians as a group. I think I remember my mother was somebody who was very particular about what she ate, and she had consulted numerous dietitians. But all of those consultations were, she had to visit them in person. They would give her a PDF, which that time it wasn't even like a WhatsApp PDF. They give you
Yeah,
a physical sheet of paper. Until I'm saying 5 to 6 years back, and then if you lose that physical sheet of paper, you're done. And nobody's tracking what you're doing, so you have to give it to either if you're making your own food, then you have to stick it somewhere,
yeah.
or you have to give it to a person who's making your own food. And that became very, very challenging. Now suddenly, when everything moved online after COVID, people are waking up to that. So I think it's very good that you had that early insight, and you have that advantage now. You're very active on Instagram, and we've seen your podcast series, The A Game,
Yeah,
that you hosted. I
yeah.
think, how many seasons now?
We started with one season,
Okay.
okay, and the second season already the concept and the guest, the lineup is almost ready. So hopefully we'll see the second season coming
Nice,
soon.
nice. Excited to see that. We'll attach the link in the description
Oh
as well.
yes.
And what led you to start reaching out to a broader audience on Instagram? Because while obviously you authored a book,
Mhm.
we'll again attach the link to that as well. What was the intent with which you approached your Instagram journey, and what was the
So honestly, getting on to the Instagram thing again, I had a friend of mine. He was like that, sir. You should also start putting out content on Instagram. And on Instagram, it just started randomly, where I started posting about my workouts and what I'm eating in general. That's how I started. But again, one thing which I feel that it just ended up happening, right, is that I started really early. Correct. It's not when everyone was there on Instagram. So I think that was one thing which I would say that I'm grateful that a friend of mine pushed me to get more active on Instagram.
nice, nice? And um, was there a turning point when you decided, as you said, right? You started your own personal journey,
Hmm.
documenting your own personal journey, and then eventually you realized that when people were catching on to it, you decided that, okay, let me also try to build awareness based, education based
Correct.
content
Hmm.
around nutrition, around fitness, such that every viewer of mine is able to
Correct.
access the right kind of information democratically. So what was the turning point like? Was there that one reel which you did when you just tried, and like it caught on, and so you decided, okay, let me get onto this further? Or was there a conscious decision that now let me move to education based content?
Uh, so at various stages, okay, because Instagram, if you see, over a period of years, has constantly evolved. Okay, back then it was picture, a photo first platform. Then if you see that it came to more videos, correct. And again, back then also, when it was photos, it's very difficult to, then in photos as well, so photos, then came videos, then came carousels, which is like a strain of 8 to 10 pictures that you can.
Now it's 20.
Now it's 20. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Correct. Then videos also was not reels, it was videos. Reels also came in after TikTok came, which was more so Instagram, so to say, or social media overall, if you see, has really evolved. And in that, over a period of time, the way people are consuming content has also really evolved. What I mean by that is that, which is sad, okay, which is again sad. It's like the attention span of people these days is so short. Correct. Earlier, back then, it was not about, uh, wherein you need to have like a good hook. If the first 3 seconds you're not grabbing their attention, gone. The thumbs, they are
Twiddling.
as
Yeah.
fast as that, right? So as we started that whole content journey, one thing which I was very clear, and again, I had mentors, I had people who to guide me, that we did not really worry about the quality
Numbers.
or the output of the content. Had I been in that loop of making the best or putting out the only best piece of content, I think that's where majority of the people
Go wrong.
go wrong. It's like, and again, it's like, because these days everyone is there, people judge you. One of the things that, even if however good you are or however bad your content is, okay, there will be naysayers. Even in the transformative journey, be it on your Instagram social media journey, there will be people, okay, and mind you, okay, people in your close circle, your close friends and family, अरे कैसा video बना रहा है, they will laugh at you, they'll mock you. Don't let them
Deter you.
In, be it your Instagram journey, be it your, even in my transformative journey, I used to be so particular about what I eat and all. And everyone used to come, अभी नया नया जोश है, खत्म हो जाएगा. And it's like those people, who bullied me, come and now pay and take services. So tables turn, be
Yes.
grateful, be grounded, be humble. I think that's very important.
Wow. You were talking about attention deficit, and I think that is especially high amongst kids. I think as cell phones, came into being, and eventually cell phones were only for adults. Then some kids started having access to it, in their teenage years. I got my first smartphone around the age of, I think, 14 or 15. And I think now kids are getting their first smartphones much earlier. Because more so because it's not like the parents want that for them, but it's safety is a big concern. You want to reach out to them and be available for them to speak to whenever they want to. So that is of course, I think, a very valid concern. But you cannot regulate how they use a smartphone, especially when they see their peers in school having smartphones, having Instagram accounts at age 3, 4, 6 now. I mean, it's ridiculous. And as a result, I think, growing growing social media use has also led to growing mental health challenges amongst kids. Back when we were younger, I think the only pastime we had was, if you have time in the evenings, is to go play. Slowly video games came, but even
Yeah.
video games have been proven to have certain benefits, even though beyond a certain point they're a
Mhm.
big waste of time. But now Instagram, YouTube, constant mindless doom scrolling has become a very, very big challenge amongst kids. So how do you think parents can regulate that? Because you have young kids yourself, you're in that bracket. What advice would you give to the general parent base for regulating social media use amongst their kids?
Well, see, I don't want to come across as yet another parenting coach.
Yeah.
Okay, it's surprising that I see a lot of youngsters, be parent bane, and now I see people who are not parents and they are parenting coach.
Yeah.
I was like, what's be that, then you'll know. I like it's so surprising that I see 20-year-old being life coaches. Boss, you've not seen life, correct? You don't even know what is going to come. Correct.
Yeah, true.
And so I'm not an before even I answer that question, I'm
Fair
not an
enough.
expert, but I can just share what I do.
Yeah.
One thing for sure, certainly, that I do is that you can't say no to them.
Yes.
Correct. The more you say no,
The more they'll want it.
the more they'll want it. Okay. So what I do is, again, the parents play the most crucial role here. Correct. It's when it comes to kids, I would say, more than telling them, you have to show them. It's what you are doing. How are you handling? What's your hygiene when it comes to social media and your phone usage, right? And especially when it comes to kids, again, be it diet or be it how we are guiding them with phones and social media, instead of saying no, give them alternatives. Give them, keep them engaged in something more and more different. Okay, and try and see how it's like. If you ask me, my son, okay, sure, he also ends up when there's nothing. See, you have to understand, in today's time, okay, in today's time, you don't have the option to get bored. When
Yeah.
was the last time you were not doing anything?
Yeah. I mean,
It's like कुछ नहीं है तो phone ले लो. You see, we are now. Back then, अरे बोर हो रहे कुछ नहीं कर रहे. Correct? अकेले खेल भी नहीं सकते. Not everyone had video games. Correct? So the idea is that how you keep them engaged in so many different activities, and not again by force. How you keep them engaged, how you expose them. Let's say for my son, I exposed him to a boxing class, football, cricket, karate. He did not like any of that, but he picked up football. He loved football. So now he is least interested in the phone.
yeah.
He only wants to play football.
Wow.
Correct? It's so, and it's not gonna, again, just like nutrition, it cannot be a one size
Size
fits all.
fits all.
I can't say that, ask your son to play football. No. Just as a parent, try and see how best you can expose them to so many other things, and you'll automatically see that they'll find one or two things which excites them.
Yes.
Okay. Then keep pushing them and keep nurturing them and keep supporting them into, more football classes, play down, give more everything around football. Again, it's just that you can't like completely zero on the phone user. Right? I have a few friends of mine like who've kept some rules that only at from this time to this time you'll get to. That's also one of the best ways to do that. You
Correct.
put a rule that this is the only duration, this is the only time. When it comes to my daughter, she's younger, she's just about 4. Again, give her more toys.
Yeah.
The idea, it's like here's a burning flame, okay, and if you tell the kid that
Don't go
it's
near.
hot, don't go, they want to go and try. So instead of telling the kid कि ये fire है यहाँ मत जाओ, you divert their mind. Look at this ice, wow, this is so cool, this is so cold, see, oh, now you have distracted their attention. They are not worried about kya nahi hai. They are like, oh wow, this is so cool, let me try this. So it's like how you switch and divert their attention from something which you don't want them to be more exposed to.
That's actually a very good strategy. Yes. And I was one of those people who was stuck in that constant loop during COVID. I mean, I was not ever very active on social media in terms of posting and stuff, but at least being updated about people's lives. And I think COVID exacerbated that much more because suddenly I found myself with a lot of time. And
Oh yeah, that's
Only-
something which happened with everyone.
yeah, and then as I realized one day, I realized I'm spending so much time mindlessly scrolling. So what I started doing was I deleted Instagram for a week straight. I didn't look at it, and then eventually when I wanted to look at it, I would download it and delete it again. Within that, after that use,
Yeah.
I've seen everything. Now there's nothing more for me to see. I'll delete it, and
Oh, so you used to delete and then install.
and again download. So now what happened was it became so prohibitive to download because you have to go to App Store,
Correct.
press the download
correct,
button.
correct.
It takes 2 to 3 minutes. Again, anyways, your attention span is low. Your attention span isn't high enough for you to wait for Instagram to download, press,
Correct,
then it
correct,
asks you
correct.
allow microphone, allow
Correct.
camera, allow this. It's a 7-step process for you to actually start using it again, right? And that became so prohibitive. Then as a result, I started downloading it and installing it less and less.
But do you still do that?
Yeah, I still do that. Yes, and normally now I use Instagram only for work-related purposes. There's also obviously there are times where I use it to stay updated about people's lives who I have on my phone. But I think that must be 2 to 5% of what it used to be earlier.
I think there are something similar which I tried. Okay, I'm not sure about you, but for me, I'm very clear. Okay, coming back to the Instagram thing. When it comes to Instagram, okay, when we talk about social media, by and large, I think Facebook is gone, at least for our kind of audience. It's more Instagram. TikTok is anyways banned, correct? So I would say either YouTube and Instagram, correct? By the way, do you know on an average, people are spending 3.5 hours on an average daily on social media, correct? And when it comes to Instagram, I'm very clear that there are only two objectives. Okay, either you are on Instagram to consume,
Or
or
to create.
you're on Instagram to create and share. I am very clear that my primary objective of Instagram is to put content out there, not consume. So the number of people that I follow, that also I'm very particular. If only there are no celebrities that I follow. Okay, only I would follow if I'm personally in touch with them, if I know them. Okay, if I interact with them, that's the. I don't follow any celebrity. I don't follow any entertainment related profiles, because that is not my source of entertainment. Okay, I only follow pages where I get educated. So I'm very clear that even when I'm consuming content, it's only I'm
And the
getting
algorithm
educated.
then makes sure that the content you consume, it gives you more of that
Because
only.
on your feed you can only see what you are following,
Yeah,
right? That's how I keep my Instagram hygiene. But majorly it is more to put content out there.
fair enough. Apps, yeah, yeah.
So I did try that, but I failed with that. I kept a timer of half an hour on Instagram. By half the day was gone, the timer was off. But then, as you said, right, it does keep you away from it for a certain bit. Then I was like, okay, now let me increase the timer to 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Then after a few days, I managed with 45 minutes. Or no, okay, 45 minutes. Maybe. Okay, then but still, there was time wherein, if you see how our uh, by default pattern is that even there is nothing, you just open. With me, it happens with WhatsApp, because
Yeah.
majorly my work is on
WhatsApp.
WhatsApp. If you ask me, the top two apps that I open is Instagram and WhatsApp.
Fair enough. For me, I think that's YouTube is ahead of Instagram, but I also know that even YouTube can be misused or used
Yeah.
judiciously to learn. And also sometimes YouTube has so much learning content that you don't know what you need to consume and whatnot. I think it happens. Everybody, discovers their own path. Eventually, comes to the right people they follow and the right kind of content they follow to understand what's best for them. But I think let's segue into the nutrition bit now. I think this is a very very hot
Yeah,
topic in the last
the audience would be wondering that, why is social media being
discussed so
discussed on
much.
the
Yeah.
longevity lounge. But just to put context, because it is really playing a big role in our health status today. So
Yes, that's why I think we started with that. Personalized nutrition is something that you are trying to do with Pango, and it cannot be a one size fits all approach. There are many allergies, many restrictions, different body types, different things that suit different people, cultural sensitivities in a
yeah.
diverse country like India. I think we are the largest vegetarian population, and so knowing all of that, I think I just wanted to know five food items that
Mhm.
anybody can consume. I'm assuming those will be vegetarian only because we are addressing everyone,
Mhm.
or we can keep them separate, vegetarians and non-vegetarians. What are the five superfoods that each of these groups can consume without thinking twice, because it has only benefits and no drawbacks?
Uh, well, I think we cannot put a blanket statement saying that these are the five
If not
foods,
five, but just generally, what is the
or in,
number?
in general also, it's like there cannot be anything where we can generalize saying that you consume this and there is only good, nothing bad. To give you context, is water safe for everyone?
Yeah, probably I haven't done
No,
enough. I don't know enough. Yeah,
no. It's like if there's somebody who has underlying kidney issues, even the water intake has to be controlled.
correct.
You see, so there is nothing wherein you have a free hand. I would say that number one would be, again, to it does not really, people don't see that as nutrient and does not really talk about, is number one, water. Hydrate yourself.
Yes.
Correct. Drink, because you are talking about in context of general population, by and large a healthy adult, or irrespective of age group. If you don't have any underlying conditions, water is something which I see a lot of people neglect. Make sure that you hydrate yourself well. Okay. Second, I think I would hands down consider food groups which is high in protein. Okay. So for non-vegetarian, all the meat, and for vegetarian, you've got dairy, soy, hemp seeds. watermelon seeds, correct? So
Paneer.
paneer, dairy,
Yeah, okay.
correct? So that's the number two. I would put protein first. Protein is the king of nutrient. Okay, protein directly or indirectly is involved in almost every function of your body, right? So what I'm trying to do is, I'm instead of trying to give you like a, and for non-vegetarians specifically, I would say that uh, organ meat, liver meat, okay, is one of the most, since you mentioned the word superfood, like we can literally do a
Full podcast.
full podcast only on superfood. Like, how do we even define superfood? Okay. And if you were to ask me, my definition of superfood would be something which has a very wide nutritional profile, correct? Something which is easily accessible, something which also does not uh, pinch your pocket. It is economically also friendly for everyone, correct? And with a very low downside is maybe what I would
Exactly. Yeah, that is
define
what my definition was. Yeah.
of superfood would
Yeah.
be, right? And I would say liver meat is nutritionally so dense that I would say that everyone should opt for that at least once in a week, maybe about 250 grams or so. And again, something one should really be aware of, that as I said, there cannot be like vitamin A is very high in liver meat, so and there could be a toxicity if you're eating overdoing that. So once a week I would strongly recommend that. But in general, for non-vegetarians, meat and eggs for protein, and for non-vegetarian, that's what I would say. Then I would say that a lot of people don't end up eating quality fats, correct? So nuts and seeds in general, correct, is a very important aspect of your diet, okay, essential fatty acids. So very strongly I would recommend people to add nuts and seeds into their diet. Then would come fruits and vegetables, for again two different purposes. One would be to nourish yourself with all the micronutrients, which is the vitamins and the minerals, correct? And then the second part would be to make sure that you are getting a good amount of dietary fiber, correct? So you were to ask me, I would say these would be the
Food
five.
groups.
Yeah.
Fair
And
enough.
I would not say five food, because it's very important that you have a variety.
Yes.
When it comes to protein, it's very important that you consume your protein from different protein sources. When it comes to dietary fiber, it is very important that you don't limit yourself to कि मैं सिर्फ everyday cucumber ही खाऊंगा. No,
Yeah.
you have to make sure that you're getting it from a variety
Diverse
of different. That's why I'm not naming five food as such,
You got it.
but
But yeah, fair
this
enough.
would be a good starting point for everyone.
So I think, as you said, protein is the king of all macronutrients. And I think in India, especially amongst vegetarians, protein is criminalized. I mean, there's lots of misconceptions about protein, especially when it comes to protein shakes. And as a result, I've seen, I think when people grow older, they develop joint issues, lots of other body aches, etc. And still saying that, well, just have chana, that's a great source of protein, or just have dal and I get enough protein. I even speak to some of my friends in their 20s, and it was glaring. That's when I spoke to a friend. He was saying, I think I get enough protein, dude. I have 2 calories of dal every day. I said, like, I don't think that's okay. I think there has to be some kind of supplementation, because generally vegetarian diets are not as protein rich as, say, non-vegetarian diets, which consists of meats and eggs as well. Wherever you put eggs, I think some people consider it vegetarian, some people don't. So I'm a vegetarian, but I do have protein shakes to supplement my protein intake. Um, so, a what can we do to remove these misconceptions?
Hmm.
Are protein shakes absolutely necessary? And as an extension, how does one figure out which protein shake suits them best? Is it plant based or is it whey? Because I've experimented with plant based, and personally, whey suits me much better. So, in general, I think just removing misconceptions about protein supplements, protein shakes as a whole.
I think what maybe there are 4-5 questions that
Yeah, yeah,
you've
yeah. So we can
asked.
just
Okay,
break it
I'll
down.
try and see how best I break all of them. I think first you spoke about how protein is criminalized, okay, amongst vegetarians. But firstly, let me tell you, it's not just about vegetarians, everyone. Protein, again, when I'm talking about protein, I think we are talking about one, protein as a nutrient, okay,
Yeah.
and one, we are talking about protein as a supplement, as you said, protein
Correct.
shake. So we'll try and cover both,
Yeah.
okay. First, yes, a lot of people just feel कि ज़्यादा प्रोटीन खाएगा किडनी खराब हो जाएगा, किडनी डैमेज हो जाएगा. That's the first line of criminalization के बस protein. There's a lot of fear mongering about protein, and it starts with excess protein is not good. Correct. Now, the number one question is that do you even know what is excess protein? They don't know their basic protein requirement. So, excess is what? Over and above your requirement. They don't know their required protein. That's number one. And it's not about vegetarians. Okay. 90% of our Indian population, they do not know their protein requirement. Correct. And almost knowingly, unknowingly, 70 to 80% don't end up meeting that daily protein requirement. So where's the question of excess protein?
Yeah.
आपका bare minimum ही आप नहीं meet कर रहे हो.
Correct.
And you're worried about excess. No,
Correct.
boss, you're not meeting your basic protein requirement. तो आप excess तो भूल ही जाओ. Correct? Second, you will be surprised. India by default is not a vegetarian eating population. Majority of our population is a non-vegetarian eating population. Correct? And the biggest myth or misconception is not amongst the vegetarians, it's amongst the non-vegetarians. My mom, for instance, okay, she is by preference a non-vegetarian. Correct? Non-vegetarians, just because by preference they are non-vegetarians, they feel कि हम तो non-vegetarian है ना, हमारा protein intake हो जाता है. How much non-veg do they eat? Once in a week. My mom, how many eggs does she eat in a day? 0. Chicken, 1 or 2 pieces she'll eat once in a week. That's the non-vegetarian population. They are not eating non-veg food thrice in a day. Correct? Just because they are non-vegetarian, they feel that यार मैं तो non-vegetarian है, boss, are you even eating? No, you're not eating eggs, you're not eating meat. Okay, तो तुमको भी नहीं मिल रहा है. So this is just to set that base. इंडिया में आप वेजिटेरियन हो या नॉन वेजिटेरियन हो, यू आर नॉट गेटिंग योर प्रोटीन रिक्वायरमेंट, राइट? एंड I remember, yeah, when you told me again criminalize, even at when I started, I used to have whey protein. I used to get my whey protein supplements, whoever used to travel to US and stuff. Like, I've been having whey protein supplements since then, right? And one statement, my daddy, क्या बड़े बड़े डब्बे लेकर आता है, ये क्या डब्बे खाता है? And protein, like, it was criminalized to that extent कि protein मतलब steroids. ये क्या steroids का डब्बे लेकर आता है? Like, there is so much awareness that is required, right? I don't know how many such podcast episodes on this alone we need to do. Not just one, not just both of us. Everyone in this field needs to keep hammering everyone. Okay, boss, this is what it is, right? So this is about that part of the question, correct?
How do you figure out if you need protein shakes?
Okay, good.
And
I got that.
yeah,
Okay. So whether you need protein shake or not is not what the question should be. First and foremost, everyone should try and make sure that they identify that what your daily protein requirement is. Correct? And there are it varies from person to person. Correct? That's why it's not one size fits all. Correct? And there are easy ballpark numbers which we can share. In order for people to understand. कि ये इनका, if I would like give an absolute ballpark number, your body weight into kgs multiplied by 1.2 to 1.8. Now
grams.
this in grams. This is an absolute ballpark. Okay, absolute ballpark, irrespective of your gender, irrespective of your goals. Correct. Assuming you're a general population, correct. Irrespective of understanding how physically active you are, how much do you weight train, not train. This is a good ballpark number. इसके बीच में अगर आप हो, तो it is good enough, correct. And if you're bodybuilding and stuff, more aggressive sport, then again you can end up eating more as well, correct. Now whether you take that from whole food or a protein supplement, it does not matter. But the primary approach should always be food first, right? Like the term supplement, okay, is what? To supplement, correct. You can't be like कि मैं दिन में supplement से पहले protein requirement fulfill करूंगा फिर food से करूंगा. That's not the right approach.
Yeah.
Correct. But yes, Vegetarians, as you mentioned, your friend, 2 cups of dal again has more carbs than protein. Correct. So I don't even consider that as a source of protein. Again, then the whole equation of what's the total calorie of that food per 100 grams comparing to different sources of protein, right? That's again an equation that needs to be considered when you're trying to understand what source of protein that you're opting from, right? But the first rule of thumb is like that, add, which we covered earlier, add all protein rich sources of food. If you're not able to meet your daily protein requirement through food, is when you opt for a protein supplement. Correct. It is irrespective of whether you're working out, you're not working out. This is another myth where people think exercise कर रहा है तो protein supplement है. No, protein is required in almost every function of your body, be it your muscles, be it your hair, your nails, your skin, your joints, your bones, your enzymes. Protein is involved everywhere, right? You have to make sure that you're meeting your bare minimum protein requirement. If you're not able to meet through food, that's where you add a protein supplement.
I think again, as an extension, this whole debate has been going on: plant protein, whey protein. Some people, there are, people have now again started taking sides. Earlier, I think 10 years back, plant
Yeah.
protein was not even a concept in India.
Yeah.
Now there's many brands that have come with pea protein, vegan protein. There's a lot of those, and I think personally, my preference is whey because it suits me more. But at the same time, I realize that one size cannot fit all. Maybe some people take to plant protein better. So, is trial and error the only way to figure out, provided, as you said, that you now know that your food intake is not enough to meet your protein requirements and you need a
Correct.
protein supplement or a shake? How do you figure out whether to go for a whey protein or a plant based protein? Is trial and error the only way, or is there a more proven way to assess that quickly so that you can avoid the journey of having gut issues like, say, I did when I was consuming plant protein? What is your
2-3 things. First and foremost, if you ask me, if you are not a vegan, okay, if you don't have any concerns, whey should be your first because that's the best. Correct. So you always start with that. And that also in whey, I would suggest outright concentrate. You don't even have to go for an expensive isolate or an hydrolyzed version. I would say by default start with whey. Correct. And if you are somebody who's a lactose intolerant, right? A lot of people just maybe lactose intolerant. No, you don't know. Just hawa mein, right?
you get a food allergy test done?
Correct. And so it's like then if whey is something which you're not, then the next best would be an isolate. Then the next best would be hydrolyzed. Correct.
Okay.
That is again how more refined it is, how they've completely taken out the lactose from it, so that you do not have to worry about the digestibility of that protein. How does it suit you or not, right? If you are a vegan, you are not okay to consume whey because whey, again, moving a little back to your previous question that it is criminalized. People think of that as a steroid. Whey is what? Whey is nothing but a byproduct of cheese manufacturing process, right? जब दूध को फाड़ते
Yeah,
हो,
I think
the liquid that is left out, उसको dry करके powder form में, that is whey protein. Correct. So if you're okay with dairy, correct, and buy religiously or whatever ethically or whatever reason you don't want to consume dairy product, and that is the purpose that you want to opt for whey, it is absolutely okay. Okay. Now there are amazing whey pea proteins and again another various plant proteins available which can absolutely be as good as a whey protein. Correct. And if that suits you, you're absolutely okay. So doesn't really matter, see what but to answer your question, yes, it will require a
period of
trial and error. Yeah.
Got it. And I think on the topic of protein, on the topic of plant-based whey, etc., we wanted to cover muscle gain. I think it's a two-pronged question. One is I think a lot of people believe that losing weight is harder than gaining muscle, which I believe is the opposite. I think gaining muscle is slightly harder than losing weight. So, if suppose somebody is going to the gym, I'm talking about addressing the population that is going to the gym, that is doing strength training, say twice or thrice a week. But somehow they're not, they get demotivated when they don't see instant results. And again, they just stop going and they reduce their frequency. What are your tips on muscle gain? What would you advise, say, uh, not a beginner, complete beginner, but somebody who's been doing it for some time, on and off, erratic, not being very consistent with it? What are some easy changes that one can make to ensure that they speed up that process of muscle gain? Uh, Even not just at the gym, but even on the nutritional front as well.
Okay. Are we talking about? By the way, just to tell you, I asked and I tell everyone, it is way easier to lose weight than to gain muscles. Period.
Yeah.
It takes hell lot of a time, efforts to build muscles compared to losing weight. Okay, and even to gain weight, so to say, as I told you that I have been on that spectrum as well. By the way, I've been on the other spectrum as well, because I was so much about gaining weight, I ended up gaining so much weight. Then so I've done both. I know, correct? And hands down, gaining is difficult, correct? Now, in your question, are you trying to who's the what's the kind of population in context that you are talking
Somebody who
about?
goes to the gym 3 times a
But
week.
is it somebody who's like more on a skinnier side, or
Yeah, somebody skinny fat.
skinny fat? Okay, then although the baseline would remain the same, but if there's somebody who's all is like more on a skinnier side, then they have that again skinny fat. Then again, as I said, fat कम करना है, muscle physiologically they are two different things, right? Correct. It's like going left and right together. You can't. Correct. But
So you have to
having
pick
said
one
that,
side first and then maybe go to the
correct.
other.
So if we were to only talk about that, what's ideal to build muscles on the nutrition side, first and foremost would be your protein. Correct. That's what builds those are the building blocks. Correct. Protein is the most important nutrient. Another a couple of nutrients which people really does not really consider in the, again, you have to also try and eat a little in surplus.
Calorie surplus.
Correct. That's a more preferred state to be in to build muscle. That's why if you want to lose weight, you want to lose fat, you have to be in a deficit. That's why you see you can't be in a surplus and a deficit together. You can either be in a surplus and you can either be in a deficit. That's why I said you can either go right or left, right? So an ideal state would be to be in a decent amount of surplus, okay, and to make sure that you're eating sufficient amount of protein. You make sure that you're eating good amount of calcium as well. There is sufficient amount of calcium as well in the diet. A lot of people don't really understand that calcium is very, very crucial in this. So when we are doing this whole, muscular contraction thing, your calcium plays a very important role in this entire process of
Growth
muscular
process.
contraction, right? Then again, magnesium. So when we train, there is wear and tear, correct? Then when you feed, okay, then when is rest and recovery is when you grow, right? Magnesium plays a very important role in the entire relaxation of your and the recovery of your, correct? Again, water is very important. Only if you are hydrating yourself, that's how the nutrients are supplied, right?
Yeah.
So these would be very, very important. Carbs also plays a very important role. You need to make sure that in order to, although you've asked me about the more nutrition focus, these would be the most important nutrients to keep in check. But it's also very important that you are working out right. You are making sure that there is progressive overload over a period of time, and for that, again, glycogen reserves will play a very important role, so that you can like really go out there and put in the best workout out there, right?
Got it.
So that's by and large.
And do you advise a beginner to always take expert advice, meaning enlist a trainer, or whether online or physical, if they are just starting out in their journey?
Well, 100%. It's like not just in anything, the fastest way to achieve something, okay, is to get to know from somebody who's done that, been that, and know the right way. What's the sense if you're putting all the efforts in the wrong direction?
Correct, because I see a lot of people who come by themselves, ego lifting, very incorrect form,
Yeah.
and I just feel like if they had a trainer, so much of their journey would be cut. They would actually see the results that they're looking for.
Absolutely. And if you ask me, so although this is more about exercise you've mentioned, right? The number one objective is to make sure that when you're hitting the gym, you're not getting injured.
Yeah.
Correct? It's very important. And when you asked me about tips for building muscles, okay, although the question was more to do with nutrition, but they all go hand in hand. Okay,
Correct.
it's very important that how you're training. If you're not training right, if you're not really giving that stimulus to the muscles, if you're not progressively overloading, okay, irrespective of how much protein you eat, you'll not see progress. Correct?
Fair.
And not just that, your sleep. You actually grow when you're resting and recovering.
Correct.
In the gym, when you're doing the workouts, you're technically breaking down the muscles. But the growth happens when you're resting and
Resting.
sleeping and recovering.
Correct.
Correct?
And as you know, because we're on the topic of sleep, what are your proven tips to improve sleep quantity and quality?
So if you ask me proven tips to improve the quantity, I would say you need to have a structure. You need to have rules that this is the time that I hit the bed and I go off to sleep. Correct? So when it comes to quantity, okay, it's not about it, people try to manage the time that they wake up.
Yeah.
It's the other way around. You need to try to manage the time that you go off to sleep. That's gonna make the time that you wake up more controllable. Because you see, when you're trying to wake up, that's more difficult. When you're awake, that's you are in more control, you are more in charge, you can take a decision with respect to what time you need to. So the first and foremost, if you really want to set a rule, make sure that you have a time set that this is the time that I need to go off to bed. Correct? And then there are so many other things that you are supposed to do, and it's both linked. Correct? What time you wake up is going to determine what time you sleep. So light is a massive influence on our health, overall health. But if we were to just talk about sleep alone, light has massive influence. Okay, it's like the moment the sun sets, the moment it becomes dark, it automatically, the hormone, the natural circadian rhythm
Starts to
triggers,
wind down.
and then we are actually supposed to wind down. Correct? All these lights and all these blue lights hitting our eyes. So it's like when light hits your eyes, from there the message goes to your, there's something called as a suprachiasmatic nucleus in our beyond hypothalamus. That's where the message goes, and then that's how the melatonin is supposed to rise, and that's how then we are supposed to sleep. But if it's constantly, a lot of people, what they do is कि नींद नहीं आ रही है तो फोन देखते हैं.
Hmm.
तो इट्स लाइक you're doing the reverse. फोन देख रहे हो, you're constantly signaling लाइट है, अंधेरा नहीं है, रात नहीं हुई है, सोना नहीं.
Hmm.
Correct? So replace the phones with an actual book or
Book.
something.
Yeah.
Correct? Try to dim the lights in your house. Correct? That's how that's how you're supposed to keep the environment low lit kind of a thing, because that's what your body requires. Your body
Correct.
needs to be in a uh,
Needs to be
dark.
understimulated, I think.
Correct? And that's what is required. Try and wind down. Okay, don't be aggressive, don't really, because again, the moment you shout, you scream, automatically body is alert. Isko sone nahi dena, yaar ye problem hai. See, by default our body is built to keep us alive, to make us survive. Everything that happens, everything just automatically stays in such amazing homeostasis. Okay, everything is just so automatically regulated just so that we stay alive. Correct? So our body is by default supposed to wind down in the evening. Again, when it comes to exercise, I do not really recommend people to do like high intensity bouts of exercise late in the evening, because again, that's the time to wind down, but you're again shooting up the adrenaline. That's not what is ideal.
So at what time, say, I know it can't be again a one size fits all, but like a general rule of thumb for you, I'm not saying
Mhm.
that is again, it does probably not apply to everyone. There
Mhm.
are some people who can do intense exercise late in the evening and still, have sound sleep. But as a general rule of thumb, when do you think one should not exercise after? Like at what time?
Ideally after sunset, no, not
Okay.
ideal.
Okay.
And you'll be surprised, early morning also no.
Okay. Wow, that's interesting.
Early morning also no. See, it's like, again, you need to understand, uh, our body, it's like it's not by default. Waking up early in the morning, you see that you are in a very calmer zone. You need time to like really, get to your natural zone, your natural level of wakeness, correct, before you even go for a bout of workout. Ideally, from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. is one of the most ideal zone. But again, with our lives, it's not really practical for all. But if you really were to ask me, the ideal time from the 11 to 4 is, again, would vary
I
from
think
the
because your
kind of
CNS is also awake and
your body temperature levels, your focus, your wakefulness is at the best here.
yeah, 100%. And I think
And with respect to, so this was how to get the quantity right, so that you try to have a discipline in place with respect to what time you go off to sleep. And on the quantity front, it's very important you try and sleep in an absolute pitch dark environment.
got it.
Correct. As I said, light is a massive influence on your sleep. So make sure that you're sleeping in a pitch dark environment. No dim lights, nothing. Correct. Try and sleep in a colder environment. Okay, you will sleep well and you'll sleep better. Again, on the quality wise, sleep, there is enough evidence that you sleep with heavier blankets, that also improve the quality. You sleep well. On the nutrition side, try and see that you're having magnesium rich foods later in the evening. That's again on the nutrition side. Dark chocolate, cashew, amazing
Also,
source
how
of.
about like say discontinuing water? Is that something you
uh,
advocate after or
would be for those who are more prone to waking up to pee.
yeah?
Then in that case, yes. But again, on one of the very very important factors, both with respect to what time you go off to bed, is the time that you have your caffeine.
Hmm.
Ideally, it's because caffeine has a half life of good 8 to 10 hours, right? And so if you are having caffeine later in the evening, sure, you would say कि यार मुझे तो फिर भी नींद आ जाती है. Like there are a lot of people, correct? But you
Yeah.
don't know that it is affecting the quality of your sleep. आप सो तो
Yeah, it's
जाते
like
हो.
that typical Indian uncle thing कि
Oh
रात
yeah,
में
oh,
बैठे हैं ताश खेल रहे हैं
हाँ,
एक
चाय
चाय
तो
दे दो
चाहिए. Like there are people
yeah
जिनको सोने से पहले चाय चाहिए. करेक्ट. सो इट्स लाइक वी कांट टेल देम के बॉस आपको नींद नहीं है. वो तो बोलेंगे कि यार मैं तो अभी चाय पी के आई कैन गो ऑफ टू स्लीप.
but the quality is affected.
या
So, sir, given our time constraints, I think we'll have to, end our session here very soon. And I'm sure I think we can recontinue and reconvene and actually,
ऑलवेज.
uh, you know, do another round of questions because I have so many that I'm, bustling to ask. But before you go, I think just one question that I wanted to ask, which is a personal favorite of mine. And this is something I have personally benefited from a lot, which is the use of creatine. So when I actually was down the rabbit hole of looking creatine up on the internet, there were there are a lot of myths around creatine, that it is used for only bodybuilders, it is not good for your health, it damages kidneys. But when I started using it, and I obviously really increased my water intake to manage the use of creatine, I realized A, muscle building became easier, B, cognitive benefits were really high, and I didn't notice any other health challenges. And I've been using it now for a month and a half. So, first of all, we want you to break down what actually is creatine, why creatine supplements can help, and you know how people should be cautious about creatine intake. When do you know if you can consume creatine or not, and in what dosage, depending on how serious you are as in your bodybuilding or your nutrition or your age journey. Um, and is it even suitable for older people? So those are the questions. What is creatine to begin with?
See, when you say that, when you started to use creatine, correct, and how you instantly saw the instant changes in the way the amount of weight that you're able to lift in
And
the
just even
gym,
the focus.
and even the focus, right? And so there's something called as ATP, right? Adenosine triphosphate, right? And basically that's the currency of energy. Whenever we are doing any bout of workout, that's the final currency. Whatever food you're eating, okay, the protein, carbs, fats, with various physiological ways, eventually, okay, the glucose is the end currency, is ATP, what you need, right? and if it's like it's a constant, the ATP, one molecule of phosphate is used, then it then gets broken down into ADP, okay, and then another phosphocreatine adds, again it becomes ATP. That's the constant loop that is happening, right? Now when you have external creatine, the ATP is replenished faster, and you will see that you are able to focus better, and you will see that you are able to lift better. Correct? Now, creatine, okay, especially creatine monohydrate form. There are various forms of creatine, right? Creatine monohydrate is the one of the highest studied supplement, right? So there is absolutely nothing to worry whether good, bad, ugly side. It's the highest studied compound out there, right? And a lot of people go wrong with the dosage, okay. Yes, definitely, so there are various ways. So the way it works is that how well your muscle creatine levels are saturated, it's then that's where you actually start seeing the results, right? So there are various ways. Back in the day, people used to take that loading phase wherein you'll take a high dose for a few days just so that you quickly replenish and saturate the muscle creatine levels, correct? But that's something which I don't recommend, okay. Even when we have athletes and stuff that we are working with, I recommend that you take the, if a ballpark number that you need to take dosage wise, your body weight into 0.03 is the dose that you need to take, okay.
Okay.
About 30 days it might take to saturate your muscle creatine levels, correct? And because if you take in higher dosage, it could lead to stomach discomfort, right? And that's where people see that it's not suiting me and stuff because of that high dosage suddenly, correct?
Yeah.
And yes, you are supposed to intake water. Again, the purpose of creatine is to saturate your intramuscular intracellular water, right? So, and it's not just muscles, okay. There is enough evidence that how it does wonders even for women and for kids and elderly as well when it comes to the health of the brain. Yeah. So one of the most potent compounds out there to put in your supplement regime. Like there are so many things that we can talk on supplements alone. I rather put supplements in 4 different buckets. We can keep that for some other time. I know that the time is pressing. And yes, definitely looking forward to another session where we can deep dive into supplements more on longevity. And I'm sure there is so much that we can
Cover.
cover, and get the audience to like really know the not just the nuances but also the baseline knowledge, which they can really act upon and implement on.
Yes. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. Pleasure
my
meeting you.
my absolute pleasure.